She said you were just comfortable, as if love was something you could trade for thrills. For a second, I actually laughed, because the sentence sounded so stupid out loud that my brain refused to accept it as real. I was sitting at the end of our couch, fingers still wrapped around the edge of the shoebox I'd just pulled from the top of the wardrobe, and she was standing in front of me with her arms folded over one of my old hoodies like it was a shield. My heart was doing this tight, fluttery thing in my chest, like I'd sprinted up a flight of stairs, but she just stood there, chin trembling, eyes already shiny, and repeated it slower, clearer, like maybe I hadn't heard her right the first time. "You were just comfortable, Jamie," she said, voice soft but deadly. "I loved you, I do love you, but it was safe, and I needed more than safe." My eyes dropped back down to what was in the box because looking at her hurt. There was the velvet ring box I didn't buy, tucked next to a folded hotel receipt with her name and some guy's signature. A crumpled train ticket to the coast from a weekend she told me she'd spent with her sister. The ring itself was simple, gold band, small diamond, exactly the style she'd always said. She liked, but the sight of it made my stomach flip so hard I thought I might throw up. I reached out with my thumb and flipped the lid shut, more to cut off the visual than anything else. "It's not even yours," I heard myself say, and my voice sounded weirdly flat. "The proposal ring, the big moment, not mine, just something you're pre-gaming in my apartment like it's a dress rehearsal." I set the box back in the shoebox carefully, like it was a fragile piece of evidence in a crime scene, then looked up at her. "And I'm the comfortable one. 2 years ago, if you told me I'd be sitting on our sagging grey couch arguing about a ring another man bought my girlfriend, I would have asked what kind of crackhead timeline we jumped into. Back then, the word comfortable in our relationship was the kind of word that came with soft smiles and shared blankets and falling asleep on each other during Netflix. It meant safe. It meant home. It meant I could be ugly cry sick and she'd hold my hair back, or she could have a meltdown about work and I'd make tea and listen. Now I was realizing, and this is why I'm here, dumping this on strangers on the internet, that somewhere along the way, comfortable in her head morphed into boring, stagnant, not enough. And I didn't see it happening until I found that goddamn ring box. We've been together 5 years. I'm 30, she's 29. I'll call her Hannah because even though a large part of me wants to blast her entire name and address into the sun right now, I'm still not that guy. We met in one of those ways people joke about but you never actually expect to lead anywhere. A dating app where both of us had not looking for anything serious in our bios and then accidentally fell face first into something serious very fast. I swiped right because her first photo wasn't a filtered selfie. It was her at the top of some mountain with wind-messy hair, grinning like a maniac with a thermos raised in the air. Her. Second was her at a dinner table laughing so hard her eyes were nearly closed. I remember thinking, she looks like she laughs with her whole body. I hadn't seen that in a while. Our first date was at a tiny bar that did craft beers and board games. She beat me at Scrabble with the word oxytocin on a triple word score, then called me a sore loser when I accused her of planning it from the start. We ended up walking around the block 3 times in the cold because neither of us wanted to be the first to say, I should go. When we did finally part ways, she texted me from the bus, "You're actually not as awkward as you said you were. 7.510 would see again." I grinned at my screen like an idiot on my couch and typed back, "Wow, room for improvement. Challenge accepted." From there it was quick, too quick maybe by some people's standards. We did that thing where you spend several months glued together, texting constantly, spending every free evening at each other's places, learning each other's coffee orders and childhood scars and weird habits. She'd steal fries off my plate with zero shame. I'd make fun of the way she watched scary movies through her fingers but still crawl closer on the couch when she did it. She told me early on, "I've never really had a calm relationship. It's always been drama or distance. You're different." "Different good?" I asked. "Different stable," she said, burying her face in my hoodie. "It feels weird but good, like I can unclench for once." We moved in together after just over a year. Everyone said it was fast, but it felt right. We found a 1-bedroom apartment on the 2nd floor of a brick building above a butcher's shop and a nail salon. The whole place smelled like bacon on Saturday mornings and nail polish remover on Thursdays. The windows rattled when buses went past, but it was ours. We painted one wall in the living room a color she found on Pinterest. We argued about whether to keep my ratty old armchair, we did, whether a framed movie poster could count as adult wall art, apparently not, and what color towels we wanted. Those early years, thrills in our relationship weren't about big gestures. They were about stupid things. Late-night runs to the 24/7 Kmart because she suddenly decided the living room needed fairy lights. Getting off at the wrong bus stop in the rain and ending up in a weird little bar we'd never been to. Climbing onto the roof of our building on New Year's Eve with cheap champagne and watching the fireworks from a distance instead of fighting the crowds. I'm not going to pretend we didn't have problems. We fought like any couple. She hated that I left cupboard doors open. I hated that she never set alarms that matched the time she actually needed to get up, so there'd be 3 or 4 snoozes every morning. She was spontaneous. I liked plans. She could be impulsive with money. I had a spreadsheet for everything. But we always felt like a team. If someone had asked me a year ago, "Are you happy?" I'd have said yes without hesitating. Comfortable, yes, but in the "this is my person" way. Things start to shift maybe a year and a half ago. It wasn't a single moment, more like a gradual fog rolling in. At the time, it just felt like life getting heavier. She got promoted to team lead role at her marketing agency, which meant longer hours and more responsibility. I changed jobs and went from a laid-back small firm to a bigger company with actual KPIs and stand-ups and the joyless sentence, "We're all a family here," in the onboarding manual. Our days became predictable. Wake up, make coffee, commute, work, come home, cook, eat, watch something, sleep, rinse and repeat. Weekends were meal prep, groceries. Maybe a dinner out with friends if we weren't too exhausted. We still had sex, still laughed, still did birthdays and anniversaries properly, but the intense "can't keep my hands off you" phase had cooled to something warmer, steady. To me, that felt like evolution. To her, I'm now realizing, it felt like something precious slipping away. There were little signs. One night, we were in bed scrolling on our phones. I noticed her swiping through Instagram stories at this insane speed, barely registering each one, then stopping on some influencer couple doing a surprise weekend away slideshow. Skydiving, ocean, rooftop cocktails, all that. "Can you imagine someone doing this for me?" she said, nudging my arm. Her tone was light, but there was an edge underneath. "I booked us that Airbnb in the mountains last year," I said. "Remember, we got drunk on mulled wine and you threw up in the snow." She laughed, then sighed. "Yeah, but that was ages ago." It had been 9 months, not exactly ages in my book. Another time, I heard her on the phone with her friend Mila. I was in the kitchen, pretending not to listen, rinsing dishes. "No, Jamie's great," she said. "He's really solid, you know, like I never have to worry about him. It's just sometimes I miss the butterflies, that feeling of not knowing what's going to happen next. Thrills, I guess." There was a pause. She laughed quickly. "I'm being dramatic, ignore me." I remember standing there with the tap running, thinking, do I not give you butterflies anymore? And then feeling stupid for being hurt by a half-overheard sentence. I could have walked in and said something. I didn't. I just turned the tap off, dried my hands, and pretended I hadn't heard. Then there was Adam. I didn't know his name at first. He was just this new guy at work, who joined their department as a consultant. She mentioned him casually. "We've got this strategy guy in for the quarter," she said one night, pushing her pasta around her plate. "Adam, he's done campaigns for like huge brands." "Oh, fancy," I said. "Yeah, he's actually really interesting," she added, eyes lighting up. "He's traveled everywhere, used to work in New York, has these crazy stories about shoots in Morocco and stuff. He's kind of intense, but in a good way. You know those people who just own a room, like everyone listens when they talk, that." I nodded, swallowed the vague little discomfort that fluttered up. Of course she'd be drawn to someone intense and worldly. We'd spent half of that week arguing about whether we could afford a new couch. Over the next few weeks, his name started popping up more. "Adam said this. Adam thinks that client's a nightmare. Adam suggested we pitch something completely wild, and the client loved it." I tried to be happy for her. Work recognition mattered to her, and if this guy was mentoring her, great. But I couldn't help notice that she'd come home from days working closely with him more energized than she'd been in months. Her eyes brighter, hands moving when she talked about meetings. There was this one Friday I remember in particular. She breezed in later than usual, hair a bit messy, cheeks flushed from the cold and maybe from something else. Sorry, she said, dumping her bag on the floor. We ended up going for just one drink with the team after work, and then Adam started ordering tequila. "Tequila," I repeated, half amused, half thrown. "You hate tequila." "I know," she said, laughing, shrugging her coat off. But he was like, "You can't say you work in marketing and refuse tequila, that's illegal." And then everyone joined in and yeah. "How many did you have?" I asked, trying to keep it light. "2, she said, kicking her shoes off. "Relax, Dad." She kissed me on the cheek, quick, a little tequila-scented, then went to the bathroom. I stared at the hallway where she disappeared and felt that weird thing again, like I'd missed a step. It wasn't that I thought she'd cheat. Honestly, that idea felt absurd. Hannah was the kind of person who cried if she found out she accidentally skipped paying at a self-checkout. She's fiercely loyal, that's one of the reasons I fell for her. She'd rant about movies where someone settled for one person while still pinning over someone else, calling the characters cowards. She's either with him or she's not, she'd fume, chucking popcorn at the screen. You don't get to keep someone as your emotional support person while chasing thrills with someone else. That's selfish. Yes, I know, irony. The night I found the ring box, it wasn't dramatic. No storm outside, no conveniently timed thunderclap. Just a Sunday you could drop into any random year of our relationship and it would fit. Laundry, cleaning, an argument about whose turn it was to vacuum, uneasy truce. We'd been tense all weekend. Friday night she'd come home late again from drinks with the team. Saturday morning there was a text from Mila asking, "So did you stay over at his?" With a winky face that my brain latched onto like a parasite. I didn't snoop, her phone was on the table and lit up. The preview showed enough to punch me in the chest. Hannah saw me see it, lunged over, swiped it away. "Context, please," she'd said quickly when she saw my face. "She's talking about a client. It's a joke, don't start." I wanted to believe her, I really did, but the seed was planted. It sat there buzzing for 2 days. I tried to push it away. Did the laundry, cooked dinner, watched a movie with her curled up at the other end of the couch instead of on my chest. We barely touched. On Sunday afternoon, she went to pop out for a bit, vague as anything. She grabbed the small purse she never uses when she's just going around the corner. My chest tightened. "Where are you going?" I asked. "Just meeting Mila for coffee," she said, eyes sliding away. "Which cafe?" She frowned. "Why?" "So I know which one you're at if I need anything," I said. It sounded weak even to my ears. "Wow," she said, grabbing her keys. "Okay, I'll send you the live location if you want to play warden." "Hannah, I'll be back in a couple of hours," she cut in, and the door closed behind her a little harder than necessary. I sat there in the quiet apartment, the ticking of the cheap kitchen clock suddenly loud. My anxiety was a physical thing now, prickling under my skin. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I trusted her. That was when I remembered the winter blankets. "We keep extra bedding in a plastic crate on top of the wardrobe. She's shorter than me, so I'm the default 'can you grab that for me' person." She mentioned earlier in the week that she couldn't find the extra pillowcases. I figured, in this wave of jittery energy that wouldn't let me sit still, that I'd be practical and go look. I dragged the dining chair into the bedroom, climbed up carefully, slid the crate forward. Behind it, squashed against the wall where you wouldn't see it from below, was a plain cardboard shoebox. No branding, just an anonymous, dust-smudged rectangle. My first thought was that it was old photos or something from her childhood. She's sentimental like that. Then I noticed there was a single strip of pink ribbon sticking out from under the lid, like someone had shoved it closed in a hurry. My hands started sweating. I don't know how to explain this next part without sounding dramatic. Something in me knew that whatever was in there was going to hurt. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I almost put it back, almost told myself if she wanted you to see whatever this is, she'd show you. Then I thought about the text from Mila, about the way she'd started flinching when I touched her lately, like my hands were a reminder of something she didn't want to think about the vague team drinks that never included photos of more than 2 people on her Insta. I climbed down, sat on the edge of the bed with the box in my lap, and lifted the lid. You already know what I saw first, the ring box, small dark blue velvet with a tiny logo on the inside of the lid when I opened it. The ring was beautiful and exactly her taste. Underneath it, neatly folded, was a receipt from a jeweler in the city dated 3 weeks ago in someone else's name. Adam's last name. I know his last name because I've heard it enough times in her stories. My brain went white noise blank for a second. Just Adam's name, engagement ring, balance paid. Under the receipt was a printed email confirmation of a hotel booking for next month. 2 nights, coastal town, 1 room, romantic package. I scanned the names. Adam, and then like a punch to the face, Hannah's full name, right there as the second guest. I don't remember hearing the front door, but suddenly she was in the hallway calling, "I'm back." And I realized I'd been sitting in the bedroom in the same position for, I don't know, 10 minutes, 20. The afternoon light had shifted across the floor. My hands were numb. She appeared in the doorway, still halfway through kicking off a shoe, and froze when she saw what was in my lap. The color drained out of her face so fast it was almost impressive. "Jamie," she whispered. I held up the ring box between 2 fingers. "So," I said, and my voice sounded distant, like I was hearing it underwater. "Opinions on the proposal?" Her lips parted. She took a tiny step forward, like she was approaching a scared animal. "You shouldn't have gone through my stuff," she said weakly. "That's your first sentence?" I asked, something sharp and ugly finally cutting through the numbness. Not, "I can explain." Not, "It's not what you think." We're going with, how dare you find the evidence of my secret engagement weekend. She flinched like I'd slapped her. It's not a secret engagement, she said quickly. It's not like that, it's just he got carried away. It doesn't mean I said yes. But you said yes to the hotel, I said, flicking the confirmation printout with my finger. You said yes to the train tickets. You said yes to hiding a ring in a box in the top of our wardrobe. I stared at her. How long, Hannah? She sank down onto the end of the bed, hands twisted together. A few months, she said eventually. A few, I stopped, breathed. How many? 4, she whispered. We kissed at the Christmas party. It got out of hand. And then, she trailed off, eyes filling, staring at a point near my shoulder. I laughed, a short, humorless sound. Christmas, so almost 6 months. Half a year of a second relationship running parallel to mine, apparently. Were you planning on telling me? I asked quietly, before or after he got on one knee. She swallowed, eyes shining. Jamie, be fair. Fair, I snapped, standing so fast the box slid off my lap onto the duvet. Fair would have been you breaking up with me before you started playing house with someone else. Fair would have been you saying, hey, I'm not happy, I feel stuck, I want something more, and giving me a chance to, I don't know, show up, try, anything. I have told you I'm not happy, she burst out, standing too. So many times. You nod and say you'll try harder, and then you go back to your spreadsheets and your routine and your early nights because you have a big day tomorrow. She did air quotes that made something in me lurch. You don't hear me, Jamie. You haven't in a long time. I stared at her. So your solution to feeling unheard was what? Start auditioning for another fiancé. She winced. It wasn't like that at first, she said, voice wobbling. We were just talking. He gets it, you know, he's lived. He's done things. He's not scared to take risks. He made me feel alive again. And I made you feel what? I asked. Dead. Her mouth trembled. You made me feel safe, she said. Loved, but it got to a point where it felt like we were just existing. You get up, go to work, complain about the same clients, cook the same meals, watch the same shows, go to bed. On our anniversary, you got me a new set of pots and pans. You wanted those pots and pans, I protested. You literally sent me the link. That's not the point, she said. It's just you became comfortable. It became comfortable. Like we'd already fast-forwarded to the married 20 years. Nothing surprises us stage without ever having the in-between part where we really lived. She took a shaky breath, eyes filling. Adam showed me the in-between part I thought I'd missed. Trips, last-minute decisions, trying things that aren't on a schedule. So he bought you concert tickets and tequila shots and suddenly he's superior? I asked, feeling something inside me crack. And your solution is to throw away the person who's been here building a life with you, because the guy with the passport stamps and the big ideas gives you butterflies. Her eyes flashed. That's not fair. It's not about hotel rooms and tequila. It's about how he sees me, how he looks at me like I'm not just the girl who reminds him he has a dentist appointment next week, like I'm this whole universe of possibilities. You used to look at me like that, you don't anymore. I opened my mouth to argue and then closed it again because that part, unfortunately, hit somewhere real. I thought back to that first year, how I used to stare at her like she hung the damn moon. Somewhere along the way, that gaze had softened into something else. Still warm, still real, but maybe less dazzled. I'm sorry I stopped looking at you like you were a novelty toy, I said, which came out much harsher than I intended. I thought we were building something deeper than that. I thought this was the point. To get to the stage where you can be gross in front of each other and still want to stick around. To know each other so well that the surprises are smaller but they mean more. She shook her head, tears spilling over now. You don't get it, she whispered. I tried to ignore it, I tried to be content, but every time he did something spontaneous or said something that made my heart race, it highlighted how flat everything had become here, and I know that's not entirely your fault. I know I'm responsible for my choices, but she took a step closer, voice dropping. You knew this was coming, Jamie. I blinked, come again. You knew, she said, desperation creeping in. Maybe not the ring, maybe not the hotel, but you knew I was unhappy. You felt the distance. You felt me pulling away. You said yourself a few months ago, sometimes I feel like I'm losing you. Her hands clenched at her sides. You felt something was wrong and you still didn't fight for us. You just let us coast. You were comfortable. There it was, the sentence that started all this for me. You were just comfortable, delivered like a verdict. I stared at her, this woman I'd thought I knew inside out, and felt this cold, quiet anger settle in. I didn't fight for us by what? I asked. Whisking you away on a surprise trip I couldn't afford on a month's notice. Selling my personality and buying a new one that likes skydiving and tequila and staying out until 3 a.m. on a Wednesday. You want to talk about fighting, Hannah. You know what fighting looked like for me. Staying at a job that drains me instead of walking out because I wanted to keep paying half the rent so you could take that promotion. Coming home and cooking when I wanted to collapse. Saying no to nights out because we had bills. That was me fighting for something stable we could build on. She was crying properly now, shoulders shaking. I know you did all that, she said, and I'm grateful. I am, but I needed more than bills paid and meals made. I needed to feel like we were still choosing each other, not just defaulting to each other because it was easier than being alone. So your answer is to choose someone else while still letting me think I'm the one you're coming home to? I asked, and my voice cracked on the last word. To plan a romantic getaway with another guy while I'm here Googling weekend trips on a budget, because I thought it'd be a nice surprise if I could pull it off. She looked startled. You were planning something. Yeah, I said, and suddenly I felt bone-deep tired. It wasn't a fancy hotel and a diamond ring, but I found this cabin by the lake 2 hours away. Cheap, quiet, no Wi-Fi. I thought maybe if we got away from everything we could reset, talk, remember why we like each other. I was going to show you this weekend. She covered her mouth with her hand. Jamie. Save it, I said, holding up a hand. I'm not telling you that to make you feel guilty. Okay, maybe I'm a little. I'm telling you because you standing there and saying I knew this was coming like I'm some passive idiot who just watched the house burn down is bullshit. I suspected something was wrong. I thought we had time to fix it. I did not think you were already halfway out the door with a new ring waiting in your purse. We stood there in thick silence, the weight of everything we weren't saying pressing on the air between us. Finally, she sat back down, curling in on herself. He proposed to me last week, she whispered. The world tilted. Excuse me. Not formally, she rushed to add. Not with the ring. We were working late, everyone had left, and we were talking about the hotel, and he said he could see a future with me, that he wanted to wake up with me every day in different cities, that he could give me a life full of adventure and passion. Her voice dropped. He said he wanted to marry me one day. I didn't say yes, I didn't say no either, I just cried. Did you tell him you already live with someone? I asked. Yes, she said defensively. He knows about you, he thinks you're a good guy. Oh well, I said, laughing in disbelief. Thank God he thinks I'm a good guy. That really softens the stealing your girlfriend thing. He doesn't see it like that, she said. How does he see it then? As us finding each other too late, she said, voice barely audible. He thinks we're soulmates. I almost burst out laughing again, but the sound died in my throat. Soulmates, of course. The language of people who want to justify breaking everyone else's life apart because their feelings are intense. So what now? I asked. Do I just move out so you can move him in? Do you want to tell me when you're thinking of scheduling the proposal so I can make sure I'm not in the background of the photos? Don't be cruel, she whispered. You brought a ring, another man brought you into our home and hid it in the wardrobe above our bed. I shot back. I'm just trying to match the energy. She flinched. I haven't said yes, she repeated, like it was a lifeline. He doesn't even know I have the ring. He left it in his jacket pocket by accident one night when we went for drinks, and I panicked and took it home. I didn't know what to do. You could have left it there, I said. You could have not taken it. You could have broken things off the moment you realized it had gone this far. Hell, you could have told me the truth. Tears slid down her cheeks. I'm a coward, she said. Okay, I'm selfish and a coward. I wanted to keep you because you're safe and good and you know me better than anyone. And I wanted him because he makes me feel like I'm 20 again and the world is huge and I haven't messed anything up yet. That was probably the truest thing she'd said all day. You can't demand sympathy for being honest about being a coward after you've done the damage, I said quietly. The honesty part should have come before. She nodded, staring at her hands. I know, she whispered, you're right. We sat there in that weird, fragile stillness. I could feel my anger simmering, but it was layered over something else, grief, not just for her, but for the version of us that existed in my head, the one where comfortable was the goal, not the insult. I don't even know why I'm telling you all this, she said after a while, voice hoarse. You probably hate me. I don't hate you, I said, and the words came out before I could decide whether they were true. I hate what you've done. I hate what this has turned me into, this suspicious, hollow version of myself. I hate that when I look at you now, part of me is wondering which days you were with him instead of me, but I don't hate you. She looked up, eyes red. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I know, I said, and I believed she was. I really did. She isn't some cartoon villain twirling a moustache. She's a flawed, hurting person who made selfish choices and hurt me deeply along the way. Both can be true. So what do you want to do? She asked. Do you want to try and fix this? I'll cut him off, completely. Move departments, change jobs, whatever it takes. We can go to therapy. I'll delete his number, change mine. I'll do anything. There was a time, not that long ago, when I would have grabbed that offer like a lifeline. when the idea of losing her would have terrified me enough to swallow down my pride and say, "Yes, let's fix it, we can get through anything." Now, staring at the ring box on the bed between us, the hotel booking printout peeking out of the shoebox, all I could think was, there's no version of this where I don't see his hand on your back every time you walk away. No version where I'm not wondering if you're comparing our kisses, our trips, our dinners. I don't know how to come back from this, I said honestly. I don't know how I'd ever trust that I'm not just plan B, that if I become comfortable again in 2 years, you won't find a new thrill and start this cycle over. I don't know how to make peace with the fact that when someone asked you to run off and chase excitement, you seriously considered leaving everything we have for it. Her face crumpled. "People change," she whispered. "I know," I said. "I'm not sure we changed in the same direction." "So that's it?" she asked, tears spilling again. 5 years and we just end it here, over one mistake. One mistake, the word tasted sour. Hannah, this wasn't one drunken kiss in a bar that you immediately confessed and regretted. This was months of emotional cheating, of lies by omission, of planning a future with someone else while living a present with me. This was letting him buy you a ring while I was talking myself out of feeling like less of a man because I couldn't afford one yet. She flinched again, like the word ring was a physical hit. "You say I was just comfortable," I said, voice quieter now. "But I think what you mean is, I was just real. I was bills and laundry and mild back pain, and a partner who'd sit with you in the ER at 3 a.m. Thrills are easy. Anyone can be thrilling when they're new and shiny and haven't seen you ugly cry or pay a parking fine. Thrills don't require you to choose them on a Sunday when you're both tired and cranky and the toilet's clogged. Love does." She stared at me like she was seeing me clearly for the first time in months, maybe years. "I don't know if I'm built for that kind of love," she said quietly. I nodded. "Then maybe you're right," I said. "Maybe you and I were always going to hit this wall eventually. Maybe you need to find out if the thrill stays thrilling when it's doing the laundry with you. And I need to find someone who thinks comfortable is a compliment, not an insult." We didn't make a decision that second. It was more like the decision surfaced, and we both recognized it for what it was. I slept on the couch that night. She slept in the bedroom with the door closed. In the middle of the night, I woke up and heard her crying through the wall. I almost knocked, almost went in, like I'd done 100 times before, to climb into bed behind her and hold her until she fell asleep. My body even stood up, but then I saw the box again in my mind and sat back down. The next day I called in sick and started looking at share houses. She went to work. Late in the afternoon, she texted me. I told him I need space, that I can't talk to him while I figure my shit out. Then, he said he'll wait. Of course he did. Thrillboy gets to be noble now. That evening when she got home, I told her I was moving out. Not that second, but soon. We'd split the bond, the furniture, the things we'd bought together. I'd find a room somewhere for now until I got my footing. She cried again, asked if there was anything she could say to make me stay. I said, nothing, honest. Because the only words that would have made me stay, it meant nothing, I cut him off months ago, I never wanted to leave, would have been lies now. We've been living in weird limbo for a week. I'm sleeping on the couch, she's in the bedroom. She makes a point of showing me her phone face up on the table when she gets home, as if to say, see, no secrets. It's too late. I'm not interested in being her probation officer. I'm moving out next weekend. My brother has a spare room and a fridge full of beer. He came over yesterday to help me pack some boxes and made all the right noises. Screw her. You deserve better. You dodged a bullet if she's capable of this. And I nodded along, but there's still a part of me that wants to defend her. To say, she's not a monster, she just. And then I run out of words that don't sound like I'm minimizing my own hurt. Because here's the thing, Reddit, I get it. Not the cheating, not the lying that I don't excuse, but the fear underneath it. The fear of waking up one day and realizing your whole life is just fine. Not amazing, not terrible, just fine. And how that can start to feel like suffocating if you let the fear spiral. I get how someone flattering your ego, reminding you that you're exciting and desired and meant for more, can be intoxicating when you're up to your eyeballs in spreadsheets and meal prep and dental appointments. But what I don't get, and what I refuse to accept, is the idea that you're entitled to trade in one life for another like you're upgrading your phone plan, without acknowledging the cost. That you can frame the person who showed up for you daily as just comfortable, while painting the person who hasn't known you through a flu or a family funeral as your true great love. Hannah's probably going to end up with Adam. Maybe they'll travel the world, maybe they'll have wild stories, maybe they'll be happy. Maybe in 2 years he'll become comfortable for her too. Maybe he already has a shoebox somewhere that she hasn't found yet. That's their journey. Me, I'm trying to unlearn the idea that being comfortable is a failing. That I should have been more of a walking Instagram reel to keep someone who clearly needed fireworks to feel alive. I want someone who thinks the fact that I remember how they take their coffee and notice when they're quiet and fix the leaky tap without being asked is thrilling in its own way. If you've made it this far, thanks for reading. I don't really know what I'm looking for here. Advice, validation, maybe just a place to put this whole mess so it's not only in my head. But if you're in a relationship and you're starting to feel the itch for more, please, for the love of everything, talk to your partner before you start entertaining ring boxes in hidden shoeboxes. Tell them you feel stuck. Tell them you miss the butterflies. Give them a chance to be part of the solution instead of painting them as the problem to justify blowing everything up. Because hearing the person you love look you in the eye and say, "You were just comfortable," while holding proof that they were planning a future with someone else, is a special kind of pain. It makes you question whether all those nights you thought were warm and safe were, in their mind, just a holding pattern until something more thrilling came along. And if love can be traded that easily for thrills, then maybe it wasn't the kind of love I thought we had in the first place.